Hello, my name is Jay Hatcher, and this is my developmental history project. So, to start, we will begin from birth to age 2. I was born into a very close-knit family, and I was the second grandchild. I was raised very close to my cousin Lana, and you can see a few pictures of us right here. My brother was born a year after me. Piaget's theory of developmental stages describes this as the sensory motor stage of my life. I was learning how my body interacted with the physical world around me, developing my senses, and starting to recognize myself as well. At this stage in my life, I would have been learning basic trust and distrust according to Erikson's theory. I had adequate food and shelter, and I had a lot of love for my family. My physiological needs were met, which aided my learning from a very young age. Maslow's theory states that if these needs aren't met, students will be less likely to successfully learn. Moving forward to ages 2 to 5, or as Piaget calls it, the pre-operational stage. Kohlberg believes that at this stage in life, moral development begins to be measurable. Both agree that children at this age act on self-interest. As a toddler, I did many activities, including dance and art. By doing things like this, I had many opportunities for socialization with other children. Vygotsky's theory on socio-cultural influences states that socialization affects the way children learn. This helped in my language development. Erikson's developmental theory claims that children at this age begin to develop autonomy as well as shame. For me, at this stage of my life, I was very independent and did not want help from others to complete tasks. My parents got divorced at this stage of my life when I was 3, which changed the environment I was living in. I began living with my mom and grandmother. Bronfenbrenner's theory on ecological systems states that an environment plays a big role in how students learn. At this point, I'd begun to understand my microsystem, or the people that were closest to me. This would be my mother, my grandmother, brother, and my cousin. I was also raised at this point with the warm demander model, as described by Delpit. My family pushed me to believe in myself and helped me to learn new things and succeed. Continuing on, the next stage of my life is from ages 6 to 12, which was my elementary school years. Throughout these years, I went from Piaget's pre-operational stage to the concrete operational stage. Around age 7 or 8, I began to use more logic and reasoning, as well as understand and follow basic fundamentals. I thrived in elementary school. I learned very quickly and was eager to help my classmates learn as well. This ties into Erikson's developmental theory for this age range, where industry and inferiority start to come into play. Many of my peers looked up to me and often felt inferior to me. I always offered to help them, but there was a power dynamic I had no clue about at the time. I also noticed the development of growth mindsets, as described by Dweck. I was willing to put in effort and push through obstacles, as were many of my friends. But I also noticed my other peers who would get frustrated and shut down in the face of a challenge. This is the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. I also moved into Kohlberg's conventional stage, meaning that I began to internalize moral standards from the people around me. In elementary school, I did a lot of experiential learning, which ties new information to relevant experiences. Dewey's theory of experiential learning was very prevalent in my early education. However, I didn't have any experiences with Montessori methods. This involves more hands-on learning and is guided by the student's interests. I did experience social and emotional learning. My teachers were very kind and cared about our feelings towards new topics and helped us through frustrations. Throughout these years, my literacy and numeracy skills greatly developed, which set me up for success later in life. This is relevant to Ladson Billings studies. Early academic success helps for more success later in life. The most memorable thing from my elementary school years relates to Bruner's spiral curriculum theory. My 4th grade teacher, Mr. Calley, who you can see in the top right corner, was able to relate every lesson to the phrase, "knowledge is power," and it has stuck with me to this day. The repetition of that phrase and the various applications of it helped me to remember its importance. Continuing on, Piaget considers ages 12 and on to be the formal operational stage, where children have comprehensive thought behind abstract objects. As I progressed into middle school from ages 12 to 14, the things I had learned previously were still useful and scaffolded into my new material, which is an example of Bruner's spiral curriculum. In middle school, I started new activities like swimming and orchestra. This was likely due to an internal desire for a sense of belonging, which stems from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I developed depression in middle school, which is hereditary in my family, but It made me feel like I didn't fit in. And as a growing adolescent, I was trying to develop my identity and figure out who I was, as described by Erikson's developmental theory. I really enjoyed orchestra right from the beginning, and my teacher was definitely a warm demander for me. She saw my potential and pushed me to work harder than others. She gave me music outside of school pieces to practice and encouraged me to keep playing. This is one of the first times I experienced Vygotsky's theory on the zone of proximal development. Prior to this, I could learn most things quite easily. But for cello, I needed help in order to succeed. Orchestra class helped me to push myself in all of my classes by giving me a creative outlet. By applying musical knowledge and creating every day, I was able to apply Bloom's taxonomy theory into every class that I took. Next, I'm moving forward into my high school years, from ages 14 to 18. Throughout high school, I noticed a lot more social and emotional learning. Teachers wanted students to succeed and would do everything they could to help them. This ties into Ladson Billings' culturally relevant pedagogy as well. The teachers knew each student could and must meet their goals, and they utilized things students were more familiar with to get them there. I also learned to rely on others more through group projects and other collaborative work. I gained a better understanding of Bruner's social constructivism theory through this. I was able to form new opinions and ideas based on my new environment and the people I was around. My high school is a very diverse community, with about a third of the population being white. This environment gave me a different perspective and helped me to learn in different ways, including various cultures, religions, and moral values. Bronfenbrenner's theory on ecological systems proves that your environment does affect the way you will learn, as well as what you learn. In high school, my passion for helping my peers continued, and I decided to pursue a career in music education to combine my two passions, and that is how I ended up here at Butler. The past couple years of my life have felt so busy, yet so rewarding. I continue to scaffold off of things I learned in elementary school, further developing Bruner's spiral curriculum idea. I also continue to utilize Bloom's taxonomy of learning, and often create in my classes and in music to aid my education. I have found myself being pushed further out of my comfort zone in college and needing more assistance in my education. I find my zone of proximal development becoming more prevalent in my life, which is still very new to me. Although it can be frustrating at times, I know I need to keep a positive attitude and look to the future, keeping a growth mindset. Everything I've learned and will continue to learn is going to help me to be a great educator one day soon.